Andy Emilio for ES News. We're here with Steven Espinoza, Showtime, always making strides. Very undercredited, as you always saying on Twitter. You know, streaming is nothing new, etc. This, that, and the third. Clarissa was just talking about how you guys have treated her so well that you even allowed her to fight on the zone, etc., because you want to see her career prosper. Is that something we can see moving forward with even like male fighters, where the networks aren't as involved with the fighters? Like, whose fault is it really, so that the fans can know where do they place blame?
You know, it's a complicated, it's a complicated situation because you know, be upfront as a network when you've invested in someone. You know, like, for example, Deontay Wilder, having done 10 fights with him before pay-per-view, you know, we feel we played a big role in building this point, and obviously we want to continue with him. So someone like that, it's tough to say, okay, for your biggest fight, you're going to go somewhere else. That's tough for us as well. Having said that, you know, we also don't want to be the reason that fights don't happen. You know, and I think if there's some collaboration or at least some reciprocity across networks, it can't be one network, you know, allowing all its fighters to fight other places if the other networks aren't doing the same. So it does require, you know, a spirit of collaboration. You know, everyone's got to do it, otherwise it doesn't make sense. The other thing, though, is I think there's some responsibility on the promoters and the fighters as well. I think, you know, if you know you've got a legacy fight that you want that's good for your career, it's your responsibility as a fighter, as someone who's responsible for your career. You know, maybe you shouldn't do a deal that veers you off in a different direction when you're at the 1 yard line on getting a big rematch. You know, or maybe if you're talking about a big heavyweight fight, you shouldn't commit 2 fights to Wembley Stadium if you don't know that that's going to be consistent with how that fight's happening. So, you know, it's not, you know, fighters, you know, managers, you know, none of this stuff happens in a vacuum. So there are areas of responsibility in multiple places. I never begrudge a fighter from sort of making his living, but at the same time, you've also got to consider, you know, look, I understand this is an opportunity that I have, but, you know, if there's a legacy fight, a Wilder Fury rematch, you know, it's also a responsibility of people not to put in obstacles right when you're at the 1 yard line.
Yeah. Floyd Mayweather made the phrase kind of famous, Showtime is the A-side in boxing. Do you guys still carry that attitude? And did that attitude kind of carry from Mayweather for bringing that phrase?
You know, Floyd always, you know, was in control of his events, and, you know, and rightly so. He's the biggest name, the biggest star in the sport. So I would say we never really want to consider the network, you know, the A side.
Yeah.
You know, we're something that we like to think that we play a role in facilitating and delivering a fight, but we're not fighters. We're not out front. We do find ourselves and do consider ourselves in a leadership position in the sport, and taking a leadership position in terms of sort of reinvigorating women's boxing, that is a responsibility. Taking a leadership position in terms of making the best fights over the last couple of years. You know, from that perspective, yes, we consider ourselves leaders, but I don't think we'd inject ourselves into and say, you know, Showtime is the A side.
Steven, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you.